I built the craziest N8N Force AI agent system to automate my entire business. It includes 14 AI employees that handle my emails, my calendar, my contracts, my client projects, copywriting, and much more. Even Nate Herc would be jealous watching this video. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Azim, and I'm the founder of Inspira AI, a voice AI agency that has built over 20 voice agents to solve real problems for businesses, from professional real estate brokers to Lebanese restaurants and other businesses. And since a shocking 80% of all AI projects fail, my agency is offering 3 business owners a chance at a 15-minute free strategy session. My partner and head of sales, Phillips, will walk you through the Inspira method, create a custom roadmap for your business, and you will leave with an actionable strategy and custom-built blueprint for your business that you can start using immediately. Enough talking, now let's get straight into the build of the voice agent that is saving me over 50 hours each month. Alright, so here I have my N8N workflow open, and as you can see here, what you saw in the thumbnail was not a clickbait strategy by me. This is a real workflow that uses over 14 AI agents to automate some of the most repetitive tasks inside of my business. These agents go from being as simple as a contact agent that can get contacts or add contacts inside of my database to being as complex as my fully fledged Upwork agent, which makes my applications sound human, creates them 10 times faster than I ever would, and essentially helps me get leads on autopilot. If you haven't signed up for N8N yet, now's a good time to do that, and you can use the link I've dropped in the description to get 2 weeks of N8N for completely free. And as I mentioned in the title of this video, again, not clickbait, you can get this blueprint for completely free by joining my AI community and getting access to many more other templates that I have built and use myself on a daily basis. So the first thing you're going to do is join my community and download the full workflow file that I have provided. You're going to come into N8N and create a brand new workflow, and go ahead to the top right corner, click on these 3 dots and click on import from file to get the entire workflow inside of N8N. So the first thing we're going to do for our agent here is establish a connection between N8N and Vappy. For those of you who aren't familiar with Vappy, it's a voice agent platform that allows you to create assistants at lightning speed, just like I do, and do absolutely insane things with them. So using my link that I dropped in the description, you can go ahead and actually sign up for Vappy and get 10 free credits. So once you're inside of Vappy, you're going to go ahead to the left-hand side and click on Assistants. Over here, you're going to create a new assistant, and you can name it something like Ultimate Swarm Agent. For this Ultimate Swarm Agent, now I've dropped this exact same prompt inside of the resource library too, so make sure to go ahead and check that out. Once you've pasted that prompt inside of here, you can go ahead and personalize it for yourself. In my case, I have a voice AI agency, so I gave it context about what me and my agency do. Once you have that done, you can also customize the first message. So for me, I just have a really quick, "Yo, this is Nova, what can I do for you today?" And once you like the way your assistant is set up, you can also play around with Vappy's voices. The default voice is actually pretty good, so I've just left that for now. The next thing we're going to do is connect something called a tool to our agent. The tool is essentially going to function as a bridge between our voice assistant and N8N, because it's going to help us pass information from one to the other. So just go ahead to the left hand side, click on this tools icon, and what you're going to do is create a tool and name it Record Action. As you can see here, I already have mine set up, so let's just walk through it step by step. So the tool name is Record Action. What it's going to do is just record the action that the user would like to perform in at least 2 sentences, so that when we're passing this information to our AI agent, it has as much information as possible about what we actually want to do. After you've set up that description, scroll down to this Parameters tab. What we're going to do is add a property. Properties allow us to capture information, and in this case, we're capturing the description of the action. So as I said before, a 2-sentence or greater description of what the user would like to do. So make sure to write that and then click Apply. And finally, we have the server settings section. You're going to notice this has something called a server URL, and it has something to do with N8N. The way you're going to access the server URL is by heading back to N8N and then clicking inside of your webhook node. So in this case, you've clicked inside this webhook node. You can actually go to production URL and then copy this by clicking on it. Just head back to Vappy and paste in the server URL. After that, just click Save for your tool, and that's all set up. One last thing that we have to do is head back to our agent and then go inside of this tools section. What we're going to have to do is simply click inside of here and assign the tool that we have just created. So now that that is complete, we can start focusing on N8N. Now put simply, How these 14 AI employees work is by receiving information that the webhook URL connected to our Vapi assistant has captured. Once that information is captured, it's going to be sent over to our master AI agent, which is actually going to identify what the user would like to do. From there, it's just going to activate one of our 14 employees to perform an action. Now, some of these individual employees are actually going to have additional agents, but these pretty much work the same. The master AI agent, for example, would pass down information to this YouTube agent, and from there, the YouTube agent would run the agents that it needs to run from here, use the tools that these agents have been given, so for example, research and then creating a Google Doc, and then send that information back to our master AI agent, which would quickly process that information and then respond to the webhook through our assistant. So the first step in setting up our 14 employees would be to decide on a chat model. You can have different models that you can use, for example, GPT-5, which was just recently released. There are also Google models, Claude models, and Grok models that you can use. So myself personally, I like to use Azure OpenAI from Microsoft because it has access to all of the main OpenAI models that I can use. And when I signed up to their special link, I actually got $1,000 in free credits that I can use. So regardless of which option you choose, you should be able to set these agents up. But I'll actually provide a guide on which chat models to use depending on your situation and the resources as well. So you can check that out and make the best choice for yourself. I'll also provide some tutorials on how to set them up, but once you've chosen and actually set up your provider, just make sure to set up a model that's relatively strong. So for example, if you're using OpenRouter, OpenAI, or Azure, you can use GPT 4.1 because it's pretty affordable, fast, and it would get the job done for this workflow. And now, let's actually move on to the setup of each individual agent. Keep in mind that depending on who you are, you might not need all 14 agents inside of this workflow, and that's completely fine. You can always click inside each of these agents and adjust their prompts by giving the AI more information on who you are and what kind of output you would like to see. You can also delete agents that you don't need or add ones that you think would be useful, because this workflow is open to a lot of customization. So if at any point you don't like how the email agent is sending emails, you can go ahead and adjust that in the instructions. And from here, you can start connecting your AI agents to the simplest services. So first, let's actually visit the email agent over here. Just click inside one of these Gmail nodes, and over here, you're going to see an option called Credential to Connect with. A Gmail credential is really nothing more than just going ahead and signing in with your Google account. So if I wanted to create a new credential, I would just click Create New Credential, and then I would just sign in with Google to lock in that connection. Once you've connected that one time, all you're going to have to do is just click inside each of the other nodes and connect the same exact credential you did before. For the calendar agent, you're pretty much going to do the exact same thing. Just click inside any of these nodes, set up a credential using one of your Google accounts, and apply that credential to the 4 other Google Calendar modules. Next, what we can go ahead and do is sign up for Airtable. It's kind of like a more advanced version of a Google Sheet, and it has access to things like AI and other stuff. So once you've signed up for an Airtable account, you can go ahead to the top right corner, and over here, you're going to see something called the Builder Hub. You're going to click on the Builder Hub, and over here, you should be transferred to your Personal Access Tokens page. What a Personal Access Token does is it basically allows NAN to get access to our spreadsheets. So you're going to go ahead and create a token, name the token whatever. You can name it something like Access Everything, which is going to make sense in just a second. For the scope, you can add data records, right? Schema bases read and schema bases write. After this, you can just click on Add All Resources, which will give you access to everything. After you create your token and receive it, make sure to copy it. And once you're back in NAN, just click inside one of these Airtable nodes. You can click on the credential and click on Create New Credential. Over here, the only field you're going to have to fill in is just the personal access tokens. So you're going to paste in what you just copied before. Name this as something like Airtable Access Everything, and then click Save. Then just connect the credential to this node, and you should be good to go. After you've set up these credentials inside the Airtable nodes, what we're actually going to need is a spreadsheet to work with. So I'm going to provide a link to an Airtable spreadsheet inside of the resources. And in that link, you're going to be able to access this exact spreadsheet. And the way you add it to your own account is by clicking on this drop down, clicking on those 3 little dots, and then clicking on Duplicate Base. So once you have that base duplicated, you can head back inside of NAN. And when you want to connect it to the spreadsheet, also known as the base, it should pop up in your list. For this AI employee, we're obviously going to be using the contacts table. Moving on from here, we're going to explore features that are a bit more advanced. We're going to use 2 services for this called Perplexity and Tavily. What Perplexity and Tavily allow you to do is actually search the web and extract information. Before we get into this, be aware that if you want to use Perplexity, there's going to be a small cost that you should pay to use their API, but overall, it's a really powerful tool that you can use not just for use cases like this, but pretty much anything that involves information. If you don't want to use Perplexity and you want to stick to something simple, I'll show you a free method to replace Perplexity and actually use Tavily for that as well. But if you are using Perplexity, just go ahead to perplexity.ai and sign up for an account. Once you've done that, then head over here in the bottom right corner. You're going to click on it. Once you're inside of here, just head over to API billing. Inside of API billing, you want to make sure that you have some money that you can spend for this. But I'm pretty sure that even if you're a free user, you can still access the API for free, but your usage will be very limited. After that, just head over to API keys and then create an API key inside of there. I don't want to go inside of there because it's going to leak my API keys, but this is very similar to what you did before with Airtable. Create an API key, copy it, and inside of each and every one of the black and white Perplexity nodes, inside of NAN, you're just going to once again click on the credential drop-down menu, create a new credential, and paste in your API key. Click save, and connect that credential to every Perplexity node that you have in the workflow. If you plan on using Tavily, just go ahead to tavily.com and sign up for an account. Tavily is even more straightforward with its API keys because on the homepage, you should see an option to just create an API key over here. And once you've created that API key, just copy it and let's head back to NAN. Once we're back inside of NAN, scroll to the right to the web agent, and over here you should see a Tavily node. For some of you, if you're not advanced builders, the Tavily node is probably going to have a question mark on it. And that's because for NAN, you're going to have to install something called a community node. Installing a community node is pretty straightforward, and you should be able to do that by just hitting tab and then typing in Tavily. There's likely going to be an option for you to install it as a community node. So you're going to go ahead and do that. It's pretty simple, and just do that. After you've done that and you're inside of the node, you're going to set up the credential for Tavily. This is literally the same thing. You're going to paste in your API key inside and then save your credential. For this particular module where we're using Tavily to perform quick searches, you can leave it as it is. But if you're planning to use it instead of Perplexity, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, you can go ahead and copy this node to every spot where there used to be a Perplexity node. So you would remove every Perplexity node, and for simplicity reasons, you would name the Tavily node you're putting instead of the Perplexity nodes with the same names. It is a bit weird that we would call the Tavily node a Perplexity node, but this is purely for simplicity reasons, because if you want to name it something else, you would have to go inside of these prompts and adjust the tools that you told the AI agent it has access to. So here what I would do is just duplicate the Tavily node I have over here, and then connect it as another tool. At the same time, I would delete this Perplexity node and then rename the Tavily node I just duplicated Perplexity. So after I've added and renamed it, I'm going to scroll down over here, and over here you would scroll down, select add option, and then in this search depth area, you're going to go ahead and set it to advanced. Because Perplexity is more advanced, we also have to set Tavily to be more advanced. This is a trick that not many people are aware of, so if you're finding the video so far to be truly helpful, please make sure to subscribe and leave a like, as well as leave a comment because I would really appreciate that. So for every other Perplexity node, you would do exactly the same thing. Just delete the old node, rename the new Tavily node with the same name, and then set the search depth to advanced. And also, one thing I forgot to do for our first Tavily node is actually set the search depth to basic, so you can go ahead and do that as well. So once you've set up the Perplexity and or Tavily nodes, you're good for this step. The next thing we're going to tackle is our image generation agent. What this visual agent does is it has access to our generate images tool. And there are two ways we can go about this. We can either use a Google Image Gen model or a ChatGPT image generation model because both are pretty good at what they do. For this use case, I've just chosen the Gemini image generator, and I'm just going to show you how to do the exact same thing. So real quick, just head over to aistudio.google.com and you should see a screen like this. If not, just sign in and you're going to see it. One thing I love about Google is that they've made the API key process very simple. Here you can just click on Get API Key, and what you would have to do is create an API key that is connected to a Google Cloud project. If you're familiar with Google Cloud projects and you already have some in your account, you can go ahead and select a project of your choice and then click on Create API Key in Project. But if you don't have any existing Google Cloud projects, you can actually skip this step for now, and I'll show you how to do that in the next step. But basically what you would once again do is just click inside of this Gemini tool, click on credential to connect with, create a new credential, and paste in the API key that you just copied. With OpenAI, the process would be pretty much the same. You would just have to connect an OpenAI tool, select the image generation model, and connect your API key. One more thing I forgot to tell you to originally do was actually scroll down to the Upwork agent and select your credential for this node as well. But as this will go for most of you, you might actually not need the Upwork agent, and that's totally fine. Just feel free to delete the Upwork agent and head on to the next step. Our next step is going to be the final boss. This is going to be a multi-step task, but if you just follow the steps, you shouldn't really have a hard time doing this. So just sign into their Google account or your choice, and just head over to console.cloud.google.com. So the first thing you're going to do, and as I said, this actually relates to the previous step with the image generation model, is create a new project if you haven't. So over here, I can see the project picker. I'm just gonna click inside of it. And over here, I have a list of projects. If you don't have any projects, and even if you do, it might be simplest to just create a new project. So you're gonna go ahead and do that. And once you've done that, you can name the project something like default Google Docs connection setup, which is gonna make more sense in just a minute, and then click create. Awesome, so when you've created the project, go ahead to the project picker once again and click on the project that you just created. So in my case, it's just gonna be my project 131. And after that, in the search bar, you're gonna type in Docs. This is gonna take you to the Google Docs API, which you will simply go ahead and enable. After this, you're gonna go to the same search bar and type in Drive to access the Google Drive API. You're gonna once again enable this, and once you've enabled that, you can go ahead to this triple line button, go down to APIs and services, go ahead and click on create credentials, and over here you would click on OAuth client ID. What you might actually need to do first is configure the consent screen, so let's just do that really quickly. When you're here, just click on get started, and then for the app information, once again, you can call it something like N8N Google Docs connection, and then for the user support email, you can just select your own email. For the audience, I don't think it really matters which one you choose. You can just click on external. For this contact information, you can just type in your email address, then just agree to the terms and services and click on continue. Then you're just going to create it, and then the OAuth configuration has been created. So here we can repeat the steps that we did before. Go ahead to this triple line menu, go to APIs and services and click on credentials. Here you're going to go to create credentials and set up OAuth client ID. For the application type, you're going to choose a web app because N8N is a web app. And once again, name it something relating to N8N. Over here is where we are going to need to head back to N8N. So head back to it, and then you can click in any random Google Docs node over here. So I'm just going to click inside of this one. This is a pretty similar process to what we usually do with the credentials. You're just going to go ahead and click on create a new credential, and you're going to copy this OAuth redirect URL. So just copy it, and then over here, you're going to add the URL and paste in the URL that we just copied. And from here, it's going to give you your client ID and client secret. So just copy that client ID and paste it back into here. And you would do the exact same thing with the client secret. Then you would click save. And then from here, you would sign in with the same account you were just using. And after it says that the connection was established successfully, you can just click save. And then over here, you should see a fully functional Docs credential. And this is going to be a little bit of a repetitive process, simply because we have a bunch of Google Docs nodes inside of this setup. But for me personally, it was worth it because I was just saving myself so much time. So for every Google Docs node, you're going to have to set up the drive name or ID and then the folder name or ID. So for me, it was just my drive. And then for the folder name or ID, it was just a slash and then a blank after it. It might be the same for you, but it doesn't really matter what folder you choose as long as you know where to find it later on. So you're going to do the exact same thing for every Google Doc inside of this workflow, but keep in mind that there are two different Google Docs nodes. You can have a create document and then an update document node. So in the update document nodes, you actually wouldn't need to change anything and you can keep them the same. However, you're also going to have a third type of a Google Doc node, and that's going to be a get document node. So I believe we have around 3 of them in this workflow, and basically these function as storage for some of our AI agents. So for the copywriting agent, we're going to have a Google Doc filled with newsletter examples so that it actually knows how to write. And I believe by default, when you're uploading these blueprints, these doc IDs or URLs are actually going to stay inside of here, so you might not have to do anything. But just in case that doesn't work, I'm going to provide the links to each and every Google Doc link inside of the resources. So if anything, you can just duplicate these documents and paste in your IDs or links inside. And from here, you've basically set up everything. I've already been recording this for over an hour and a half, so I would really appreciate if you subscribed and dropped a like on this video so I can create more videos videos like this, but from here we can honestly just go ahead and give this a test call. So obviously testing every single agent in here would be a huge pain and it would take over 10 minutes, which this video doesn't have the time for. But just for demo reasons, let's test the project assistant's ability to create a flowchart for one of my voice agents, and then also create a pre-made prompt for it. So I'm back inside of Vappy over here. I'm going to change the model to GPT 4.1 just because I don't trust GPT 5 mini yet. So now let me give it that call.
Yo, this is Nova. What can I do for you today?
Yo, what's up? So I'm looking to create a plan and an outline as well as a prompt for my latest client build. We're building a voice agent for an authentic Italian restaurant. I think the voice agent should be able to answer FAQs kind of with a traditional Italian tone and style, so like polite, not necessarily funny, but very friendly. It should also be able to check availability, book reservations, cancel reservations, and then reschedule a reservation.
Thanks for the details. To ensure a perfect outcome, could you clarify a few points for me? 1. Who's the target audience using this voice agent? Local regulars, tourists, or a mix? Are they interacting via phone, website, or another platform? 2. Should the agent offer menu recommendations, current specials, or handle dietary allergy questions in addition to reservation duties? 3. Any specific branding elements, phrases, or personality traits you want consistently woven in, classic Italian greetings or signature dish spotlights? 4. What's your deadline and preferred format for the plan, outline, and prompt? 5. Are you supplying any assets, or should I create all components from scratch? Once I have these details, I'll deliver a comprehensive project plan, workflow outline, and a fully crafted prompt tailored perfectly for your authentic Italian restaurant voice agent.
Yeah, the target audience is local regulars, tourists, kind of like a mix, and then they're interacting via phone. And then you can add pretty much everything else that you mentioned. Those are actually really good ideas. And this is a Google Doc format, obviously. So yeah.
Got it. I have everything I need. I'm currently creating a comprehensive project plan, workflow outline, and expertly crafted voice agent prompt for your authentic Italian restaurant client, incorporating all service capabilities and branding elements in Google Doc format. Give me a moment. I've created a complete project deliverable for your voice agent build. 1. Strategic project plan, clearly defined objectives, targeting both local regulars and tourists, optimizing for high-quality guest experience by phone. Service scope includes friendly Italian-styled FAQ handling, real-time reservation management, book, cancel, reschedule, menu recommendations, daily specials highlights, and sensitive handling of dietary allergy questions. Personality guidelines: warm, authentically Italian, always polite and enthusiastic, skilled in welcoming greetings and conversational charm, but keeps humor subtle and refined.
Awesome, Nova. Thank you for helping me out. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. It was my pleasure assisting you. Wishing you a fantastic day and much success with your voice agent project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now that the call has ended, I'm checking out my Google Docs over here. And over here, I can actually see an authentic Italian restaurant document was created. Amazing. So over here, it provided the project overview, kind of summing up what we went over on the call. It also provided me a complete prompt, which looks pretty decent and has pretty much all of the capabilities I mentioned. We also have the flowchart. So if I copied this flowchart, which is written using Mermaid code, which is basically flowchart language. And over here, if I go to the website mermaid.live, which allows me to just paste in this code and get the flowchart, it actually managed to create me a pretty decent flowchart. So over here, for example, if a person has many questions, they're going to be routed to the search knowledge tool. And this kind of 5-minute setup where I can just chat with the voice agent really helps me out with my projects, because instead of having to manually create those flowcharts and then write the prompts with a separate AI and then write out the project overview, I can actually have that be done all in one just by one of my AI agents. And keep in mind that this is just one of the many things that this set of AI employees can do for you. So instead of juggling a bunch of tools at once, you can add different AI agents to this workflow and then be able to call it at any time of day and just be able to speak with it, which is much faster than having to always type out what you want to see and copying results into different documents. And with that, we just set up a system that helps automate a bunch of repetitive tasks, whether you're a business owner, an employee, or a fellow AI agency owner like me. Before using this, I was constantly missing calls with people, spending a bunch of time jumping from one AI tool to another, and just completely tired of the mess of repetitive tasks that was costing me almost 2 hours per day, but now just 15 minutes. So if you enjoyed this video, just make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, because this was my craziest build yet. And don't forget that I'm offering all of this for completely free. And if you're a business owner whose mind was just blown at the sight of this, feel free to once again book that strategy call I mentioned earlier in the video. It's completely free, costs just 15 minutes of your time, and offers your business a free roadmap and blueprint for your AI journey, all handled by Philips. And don't forget that we're offering this opportunity to only 3 businesses this month. So if you're serious, just hit the calendar link below and leave with guaranteed value. But for those of you who stayed until the end, I appreciate you for watching this far and going through the entire tutorial with me, and I hope you have a nice day. Thank you for watching.